This is a great position. Take your hips up, and then watch the way I crash the hips into Kieran's hips here. I push off the left hip to go to 90 degrees. All right, so Kieran tries to move, this should be very hard, and then we can start attacking triangles, arm bars, omoplatas, and so on, yeah? And once this happens, I bring my knee outside Kieran's elbow, and then we're back into the same triangle and working our same finish. And then basically all I do is just bridge to bring the arm across. Go back to the left collar tie, left foot on the hip, we move to the right side, bring our knee up towards our chest, and then we lock up the triangle to get the finish. All right, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so 3, 2, 1. Triangle set from closed guard, and then we're going to work on some Williams guard attacks from there, right? So Kieran's in my closed guard, I get inside hand position, I get his hands to the floor, I'm going to use like a C-frame in his armpit, and I get a collar tie. Put my left foot on the mat, and then I'm just going to do a little hip escape from here. When I do this movement, this puts me in a position to either do like a hip bump to a triangle, or what it does is it allows me to build up to an elbow. And if I build up to an elbow, it means I can plant my left foot on the floor, take my hip up off the mat, and then I can set up this hip bump. So we'll just set up the hip bump, and then we'll go into the details here. All right, so the trick on this is basically when I get my hands inside, collar tie, thumb post, hip escape and free my knee. So we can either work the hip bump, attack from here, or we can go straight into Williams guard. While we're in this position, we're basically just going to retract the right elbow. I press on my left foot, take my right hip off the mat. I'm going to crash my hips into the side of Kieran to get him to post. And a little detail here, I'm going to stay attached to him with the left collar tie and the left knee on his back. So I bump here. So my left knee and my left hand is on his back and his neck. I pull Kieran's head then in towards me, and then we go into our triangle attack. All right, so 3, 2, 1. We'll just talk about like where that hip bump setup goes wrong. So like if I get the thumb post and I get my collar tie and I'm on my side, if I try crash Kieran's hips from here when my hips are below his hips, I'm not going to be able to generate that much power. So that's why I build up to my elbow and I press my left foot on the floor. I get my hips higher than Kieran's. So that's a big detail. So some people, if you keep your hips kind of sagging on the floor, it's not going to be a legit off balance. So take your hips up, and then watch the way I crash the hips into Kieran's hips here. And the big detail on this is I'm using the collar tie to stay attached, but when I get Kieran to post by crashing his hips, it's kind of my knee and calf that gets attached to his back. So we'll do it one more time. So hips are up. So if you look where my left leg is, I'm kind of hooking down his back. And then because his head is far away from me, I just use the collar tie to pull the head inside. All right, so let's just work on those 2 details, and then we'll go over some finishes. So 3, 2, 1. Details on the triangle. So again, I managed to get my hands inside using this C-frame on the armpit, collar tie, hip escape, and now I can go into Williams guard attacks, or I can just use this to build. So I come up on my right elbow, take my hip up off the floor. I do that by pressing my left foot on the mat. When I'm doing this, I'm trying to get Kieran's head as far away from my head here, and then I want to bring his head closer to mine by using the collar tie here. All right, so now that we're in this position, it's really important that we control the posture, because the first thing he's probably going to do is frame on my hips, keep my hips low, and then start to move his head away from my hips. All right, so we get a left collar tie. Really important detail to get better control, kind of like mid-back, is I bring my heels down to his spine, and I bring my knees to my chest here. So if Kieran tries to posture, this should be very hard, especially with a collar tie. All right, so once we get the left collar tie, we want to start bringing this right arm across. So I switch from a left collar tie to a right collar tie, hip escape, and I go elbow deep on Kieran's elbow. And basically all I do here is bring my heels down towards his back, and then I bridge to bring the arm across. Once the arm comes across, we go back to the left collar tie, left foot goes on the hip, I push off the left hip to go to 90 degrees. All right, so the detail that we talked about the other day is basically for me to have a tight triangle, you shouldn't be able to see Kieran's shoulder. So when we lock up the triangle, I bring the knee towards the head, and we go toes up towards the ceiling to get the tap. To get good control, it's a collar tie, knees to our chest, and heels down towards the back. All right, I switch the collar tie, turn to my left hip, I go elbow deep to Kieran's elbow, and then basically all I do is just bridge to bring the arm across. Go back to the left collar tie, left foot on the hip, we move to the right side, bring our knee up towards our chest, and then we lock up the triangle to get the finish. All right, 3, 2, 1. We're back in, close guard, it's gonna be the very same setup. So I get the hands inside, collar tie, I get like a C-frame on the armpit. My goal here is, when I put my left foot on the floor, is to bring my right knee past the line of Kieran's shoulder and hand here. All right, if I can get my collar tie and start to build from here and go into the hip bump as we just work away with that. But sometimes just Kieran's just gonna be kind of putting a bit of weight on me. Basically what he wants to do here is when I get on my side, he's gonna use the side of his head and kind of like his hips to drive me flat. So he's gonna put me flat on my back here. And then he puts me back to regular close guard. Because he knows that anytime I get on my side, it's a little bit more dangerous for him. Because I'm obviously looking to set up some attacks. So if you find you're not able to build up on your elbow and up on your foot, it's no problem. We basically keep the collar tie, keep the C-frame, and I'm gonna just take an extra hip escape and I put my right foot on Kieran's hips. So that keeps his hips away from mine. And then all I'm gonna do is, I wanna get my left heel into his trap or over his shoulder, but you can see I don't have like the mobility to do this. So I basically just move my head away from Kieran's head, and then that puts the heel into the trap, and then we can start attacking the triangle. We'll do the finish in a minute. So again, very same setup. So hands inside, collar tie, C-frame in the armpit. Trying to build, it's not working. Second hip escape, get that foot on the hip. All right, you can see it's hard for me to put my heel into his trap. So all I'm gonna do is basically just move my head away from Kieran's head, and that puts my heel in the right position. Kieran tries to move, this should be very hard, and then we can start attacking triangles, arm bars, omoplatas, and so on, yeah? 3, 2, 1. So we've done hip bump to triangle, and then now we've done our failed hip bump to Williams guard to triangle. So we'll just work on the finish, right? So hands inside, C-frame on the armpit, left collar tie, left foot goes to the floor. I hip escape, try to set up my hip bump triangle, doesn't work because Kieran's trying to flatten me out. So I'm gonna hip escape anyway to stay on my side, and I'm going to make sure I hip escape enough so I can get my right foot on Kieran's hip. That's really important. That makes it hard for Kieran to kind of circle and put my left shoulder back on the mat. It's a huge detail. If we stay here, Kieran will just like get his knees and hips closer, and then he'll just put me on my back. Right, so we always want to be on our side. So foot on the hip. We were saying that it can be hard to get the foot across the shoulder if we're lined up roughly 12 to 6 with our opponent. So we just move our head away from our opponent's head. We put the heel into the trap. That's really important. What that does is with the foot and with the heel on the trap, it makes it hard for Kieran to square up 12 to 6 and put me flat, and it also makes it hard for Kieran to posture. So if Kieran postures and I keep my knees pinched, this is very hard. All right, this is a great position. Anyone that's good is probably going to be staying tight with this hand on your knee here. So maybe it's a pant grip or just kind of cupping your knee. If someone's like completely unaware of this move, their hand's going to be away, and then you just have like a free entry into a triangle. But let's say Kieran's doing the right thing. So I want to get some type of grip. So I'm going to take like a hook grip. I keep my knees pinched tight. And the way I'm going to free my leg is basically, I'm on my side, I'm going to move over to my left side, and once this happens, I bring my knee outside Kieran's elbow, and then we're back into the same triangle and working our same finish. All right, so we'll just do that last detail one more time. So we're here, Kieran's getting the pant grip. I'm basically just going to take this hook grip, and instead of just trying to pull it out, I roll to my left side, bring my knee outside the line of his elbow, and then we're into that triangle. If this fails, so for maybe anyone that's training a bit longer, if you find at any stage you can't free this, we can always just basically start attacking the omoplata from here as well. So it's a great position, there's loads of options, all right? So 3, 2, 1.